During the Great Depression, the United States was in one of the worst economic downturns in its history, putting much stress on not only the economy, but on the people that resided in the country. There were solutions that were conjured up by the US government to try and alleviate the strain that has been put on social programs due to the Great Depression. One of these solutions ended up becoming the Mexican Repatriation Act, which targeted Mexican immigrants and citizens all around the United States. The Roaring Twenties were in full swing. America was experiencing economic, social, and cultural growth on a level that had never been seen before. Everything was going great for the young nation until October of 1929. The severe overproduction brought by the Roaring Twenties and overvaluation of stocks eventually ended in panic, selling, buying, and people doing anything they could to try to salvage the stock market before things took a turn for the worse. But unfortunately, they did. This ended up resulting in what would become known as the Great Depression. Over the years, many Americans couldn't keep their jobs, find work, support their families, or even keep their houses. Unfortunately, a repercussion of this age-old tale, when Americans can't find work or a stable living situation, they blame the immigrants. Many Americans became hostile to the various Mexican workers of the various fields and industries throughout the United States. These actions echoed the various reactions to Chinese and other immigrants during the Californian Gold Rush, where American Anglo men made the journey from east to west and had a hard time striking it rich as they were promised. This resulted in laying the blame on these various minority groups who were also working the gold mines with them. Violent clashes fueled by racism and a white superiority complex led to various altercations throughout California and other parts of the United States, where they felt like they were rightful to take these actions out on these minority groups, as they were the ones that deserved this work, not the minorities, the Chinese, the Irish, or whoever stood in their way. Similarly, these repatriation groups were led by local Americans or law enforcement who were backed by government sources. All these groups were inevitably supported by the Bureau of Immigration, which led to this drive for deportation. The Mexican repatriation decision was created under the guise of freeing up more opportunity for Americans. The idea was that removing these people would put less strain on the social services that were being offered at the time. As many Americans didn't have jobs, they would have to rely on welfare programs, and to the American government, these welfare programs were wrongfully being used by these Mexican people. Many of these Mexican people targeted in the big cities were unemployed people who had lost their jobs due to the economic depression. Those in Detroit who were working in the automotive industry had lost their jobs due to mass layoffs and were targeted by local government-backed groups who would do all they could to coerce them into accepting repatriation. Not only Mexican people were targeted, but also Filipino groups who were also offered compensated trips back to the Philippines, where some would take it, but a lot would be forced to take these opportunities. The United States had worked with the Mexican government to organize land for repatriated/deported people because the Mexican government were not big fans of people leaving their country. They aimed to build up northern farmland on the border with the United States with these returning people, organizing many acres of land for Mexican people along the border to build up their own agriculture and industrial work fields. Mexican people in the U.S. fought against repatriation with various strikes and work walkouts that were met with retaliation by law enforcement. These retaliatory strikes did cause a few Mexican Americans to desire to return to Mexico, and with the help of the Mexican government and the president at the time, Lazario Cardenas, there were efforts to establish land for those who desired to return to Mexico. Many Mexicans had issues with returning to Mexico. Those who did not take the opportunity to return were then forced to go. They were forced to leave behind most, if not all, of their possessions and their homes, basically being sent back to Mexico with nothing that they had come to gain from in America. Many Mexicans who were deported faced the issue of being unable to reintegrate with Mexican society. These people had become so adjacent to American culture and society that transitioning back to Mexican society was difficult. For Mexican people in Mexico, repatriation did cause some nationalism to grow, with the government imploring many media outlets to push stories and articles that supported Mexican economic growth and to celebrate culture with those people returning. Mexican repatriation would last between the years 1929 and 1939, only for one historical event to lead to the return of these people back to the United States. The Second World War sent many young American men to go fight in the Pacific, Europe, and North Africa. This ended up creating a labor shortage in the country. Many women would take up the mantle to help the war effort, work these jobs that the men had left behind, as well as the United States imploring Mexican workers, but from Mexico, to come work in the United States again. Many of those who were forcefully deported less than a decade ago once again had an opportunity to return to the United States and work the various fields and industry that they were once kicked out of. They resumed the jobs of working the fields and in various industry plants that were supporting the war effort and the American people. As Mexico was an ally that did declare war on Germany, they did not commit troops in mass like the United States had. This gave many opportunity for the United States to employ Mexican people to come work in the country again, with many Mexicans who were forcibly deported returning to work the various jobs that they were once kicked out of. Thank you for watching. I had a great time doing research and actually doing this whole video. I'm glad this is a project that we can do for this class, as it is, like I said before, it is a breath of fresh air to not have to do another paper. And like I said, I had a great time doing this. Thank you so much for this great semester. I learned so much. Thank you so much.